Okay, I assume we are live. Huh, assumptions, not always the best thing. Let's see. Check, always make sure to check. Live, says upcoming. Let's see here. It shows up live over here, but it shows up waiting over here. Anyways, good afternoon. Okay, here it shows up live. Okay. So we are here, we are back with some more information today. Buenas or good afternoon, whichever one works for me. Always like to be sure that you have the liberty to speak Spanish or English. I will understand both. If you speak another language, then I can't help you there. So yes, Beyond Borders, buenas tardes, good afternoon. I hope you are doing well. I hope everything is going great for you. We're here today. We're finally back after a longer time than I expected. I do want to preface this because I know some people come into the live stream and they are unsure of what exactly, how long it's going to take, what we're going to talk about. But I do want to say, not this, I do want to say that it might be a live stream that's about an hour or 2 hours long. So for anyone looking for a short 10-minute, 20-minute video, this is not the video for you. So hello, Oscar, Mr. Oscar, how's it going, man? Magic, buenas tardes. Todo bien, everything good. I hope you're doing well as well. Ryan, was good. I should do the emoji also like that. Was good. Yes, and with you also. Sorry for being a few minutes late. I had scheduled it for 3, but I needed to make sure everything was in order. Sometimes I forget to turn off the audio on my laptop, so then you end up hearing it. Or sometimes I end up like not having everything set up in the live stream. So yeah, right now we have everything. There's a lot of things that I pulled up to talk about, specifically a lot of things I've been accumulating also because I wanted to make sure we had a lot of things to talk about. If you watched my most recent video, I did go into a little bit of the things that I'm going to talk about in more detail here today, such as crime, the situation with the subsidies. That's something I didn't mention in the video, but something that I saw and I was like, we got to talk about this. The power outages, there seems to be an analysis on Coca-Cola Sinclair. It's not looking good. So yeah, we've got a few things to talk about. And I appreciate you guys taking the time to be here. Sorry it had to be on a Sunday. Tomorrow we actually have what you call a holiday, the feriados. People love feriados. So do I, of course. But it's like tomorrow I was going to be free, but I wanted to see if I took advantage of tomorrow to see if I recorded a video, if there's the possibility. If not, then I'll probably take a break because it does feel like my throat's like every day I'm like speaking, and with the kids at the school, it's not speaking, it's like speaking. The projection of my voice is much higher in order to make myself heard and understood. And that's because you guys have me here with a microphone. I have to speak into a classroom with all the kids talking at the same time. Teacher things. Being a teacher looks easy from when you're a student. You're like, oh, teachers got it easy. They just have to bully us and tell us what we have to do. No, the teacher has to do a lot of planning and they have to speak, and it's just it takes a toll on your voice, on your throat. Like I've been sick, and it's been a long time since I've been sick, and I've been sick these past few weeks. Like not the whole weeks, but it seems like there's like this virus going around where you get sick, you feel you're finished getting sick afterwards, like a week passes by and you feel good, and then a week later you feel sick again. So it's crazy stuff. Exploring dimensions for all. Hello. Sadly, there appears to be a high level of corruption occurring in some local police departments, making it difficult to get serious crimes addressed. I don't know how widespread this is. To be honest, when it comes to corruption, it's really easy to see that it's like it's not just now, look back to my video that I made about Vera de Ucrania, where they had the whole situation with how Vera was actually kidnapped. And we're talking about, I think that was at the beginning of the year that I talked about that, or I don't remember if it was last year, but I mean, that situation happened with Vera, and when they went to go report to the police department, it was like they couldn't do anything. Like they had a police department, the police weren't doing anything, and it's like they didn't want to do anything. And it's more that either A, they don't want to do anything because they're scared of the criminals and the repercussions, or B, they don't want to do anything because they're in cahoots and it's convenient for them. I mean, this is an assumption, just to give you an idea of how sometimes the corruption works, which you probably already know about. Like if you're in cahoots with the criminal and they steal a car, let's assume, and they sell the stolen car parts because they can't sell the whole car for like $1,000, just to put a value, because I don't think that's how much it would sell for. But let's just say $1,000. The police, for not doing anything and not stopping them, they get their cut. Who knows, maybe $100 if they were in on it, or if they helped, maybe a little bit more. Things like that. I can't say it's like guaranteed that that's the way it happens, but that's the way that it seems to happen, because it almost feels like the police have a hand in it with how blatant it is, where the criminals are and where the crime is happening, and they don't do anything about it. But anyways, it's crazy. It's crazy. It's hard to stop these things. And I remember when, the whole Phoenix plan was going into effect and they were capturing people, they were talking about how there were people who were in high positions in the police and they were a part of, these narcos, these drug gangs, the mafias and such. Beyond Borders, with all these violent crimes still happening, do you think it could cost him his re-election? I keep hearing this kind of mixed rumor, and I'm going to call it a rumor just because, once again, I don't have an actual article that justifies it. But I've heard that he's not even going to try to run for president again. And there was something, and it frustrated me really bad because I forgot to mention it in the video that I made, and I was going to mention it, but I ended up getting too deep into the infrastructure and like talking about other things that I didn't get to mention it. But realistically, I think what Noboa has been doing so far is really good, but we have to remember he's also on a short term. Like he doesn't even have they didn't even have like half of the term that a normal president would have. So considering everything he's doing or trying to do, like I think it's a lot in comparison to what you would assume he would have done with the short amount of time that he had. I talked about this before when we were talking about who was going to be elected, what was going to happen, but I honestly didn't think any of the people who were going to be elected were going to be able to make substantial changes because they just don't have the time to make these substantial changes. And yeah, there are going to be people who can do things. They're going to be able to do things, but it's still not like to the level that I think everyone wants. Like I want the situation to be over and done with, but like realistically, what country in such a short amount of time has been able to completely neutralize their crime? We can use El Salvador as an example, but once again, when you look at the example of El Salvador, it's also what you would call an extreme. And unfortunately, I guess, I don't see anyone being willing to do the extreme here in order to change things. So it's like people like things like calm, take things slow. So I don't see someone willing to like go to the next level and like make something like that happen the way that we want it to happen, of course. Like, yeah, things are going to change, things are going to get better, but there's no guarantee how long it's going to take until things actually do get better. You feel me? So anyways, going back into the comments, that makes sense. Beyond Borders, no country can 100% be safe. How would you rate Ecuador overall of high crimes, including drugs, murder, R-word, kidnappings, and even corruption in law enforcement and government? Only because I only have like a few examples to be able to compare with. Like, if you look at it from the perspective of like what I would rank it, I mean, I don't think it's first place, but I also don't think it's lower than top 5. like at the lowest, I would say 5, only because once again, I'm living through it and I'm seeing the things for what they are, and I've come to like, I don't want to say come to terms with it, because I also don't like accepting that we kind of have to accept that this is the way things are. But I do realize that there isn't much we can do if every attempt that people make to change things puts that person in a bad spot. This is one of the most common things you'll hear from an Ecuadorian citizen who wants things to be better. They always say, you can be the best person possible. You can want to make the country better. You can have every good intention to change things. But as soon as you get into power, you have to become corrupt. Because if you don't become corrupt, one of two things will happen. And just the two things that come to mind. One, you'll be replaced for someone who can do these things. And well, you could say that the second is pretty much what leads to the first, which is you'll be unlifed, because if you're not following the rules, the status quo for the people who want things to stay the same, then they'll get rid of you. So that way someone else who will be their puppet will take your place and do the things the way that, you know, they want the things to be done. So it's problematic because just that theory, that idea, like, yeah, we talk about it now, and you know, as citizens, we talk about it like, oh, that sucks. But realistically, for a person who's looking to get into office to be able to change things or to even contemplate like doing things well, they feel afraid and they no longer want to do it. They kind of think like, I don't think I want to do that. Like I don't know if I've talked about this before. I'm pretty sure I have mentioned it. Like I've thought of my dad being like the mayor or the president, you know, taking office, because I feel like he's a really smart guy. Well, he is a smart guy, and he's really good. Like he's a great person. Um, but even he says like he won't do it because it would mean sacrificing his values. He could be unlived. In one of the articles that I was reading about what we're going to talk about in terms of crime, I even saw that Noboa was recently targeted apparently by mafia members coming in from the border from Colombia. And it's like, imagine, like, as a son, like I would feel really scared to hear that that my dad is going through that. Or even someone like just thinking about the president isn't even my dad, but he's a fellow human being, and I feel like scared for him because he's trying to do good things seemingly, um but he's not being allowed to do them. He's in danger, he's at risk, and you just never know when things can go south. So yeah, I do agree. No country can be 100% safe. Although from what I've heard from my friends who are in Switzerland, the Swiss girls, like it sounds like Switzerland is the promised land, and there's like everything is super safe. The security levels are high. You go out like it's nothing. So, you know, I guess it depends also on. That's something that we always end up coming back to. The reason why there is crime, or why the problem is what it is because of the social economic, I guess, status of the people. And here there's obviously, I don't like including, because it's not fair to include them, but like here there's like the difference in wealth, or the social class, whatever you want to call it. And the wealthy, they're few, they exist, but I almost don't count them as Ecuadorians, because they're just like, they don't live the life that normal Ecuadorians do. If you can go out on a weekend and like, if you can, for example, this is my feriado, my holiday. I'm at home. I can maybe go to the theater. I can maybe say I'm gonna go grab a bite to eat. Um, I can maybe just chill here at home, because I know it's not going to put me in a financial crisis later. Like if I spend anything over $100, then damn, that weekend was expensive for me. And for some people, of course, in different countries, you're gonna be like, but $100 is normal when you go out. Yes, but over here, for you to spend $100 on a weekend going out, like one day or even two, that's a lot. That's like, man, you must have done a lot of things to have spent that much money. But the wealthy citizens of Ecuador, who, like I said, I almost don't consider them to be Ecuadorians. It's like they go to different provinces, they go to different parts of the country. They take trips on a weekend like this, like a holiday weekend. They already have a flight plan to the States. Um, they're just not the same, and it's just a totally different story, like for them than it is for us. And imagine, and me, who I consider myself to be lower than middle class, like middle lower class, and that might have rised a little bit just because now I have a third job, but it's like for everyday Ecuadorians who are under that, like man, even like going out is a luxury, which is why I think they resort to drinking alcohol with friends, because like I've talked about this before, everyone, they drink from the same cup, they'll drink from the same bottle, and they'll share the expense. So maybe they'll drink like two 12 packs, it'll cost, let's say, $10, and they split the cost amongst like 10 people, so it's not even that expensive for them. So it's like, that's part of the reality of being an Ecuadorian, of living here, living through this kind of situation. And like I said, that's why I don't really feel like I can call the wealthier class of Ecuadorians like Ecuadorians. Yes, they are Ecuadorians. Yes, they probably do love the country, but do they make do they set a realistic example for what Ecuadorians are like really like? Not really. Even in terms of behavior, we've had this conversation before. It always seems to be that the people who have less here in Ecuador, people who live in the countryside, people who have the small little wooden houses, people who are very humble, they seem to be the people who are willing to give you more than the actual people who have money. And there are case by case, examples. I can't say that that's the situation for everyone, but this does seem to be the very uh, general consensus of what Ecuadorians, like the difference between the economic classes are like. And I mean, I love my fellow human being. I love my fellow Ecuadorian, but it just, like I said, it just feels so difficult to be able to compare, because even assume someone from outside the country, like you'll see two Ecuadorians who are the same, but one of them is driving a Corvette. Like I've seen it here. Like someone here in this city drives a Mustang. Like who owns a Mustang here? Like you can't afford a Mustang. Like I can barely afford my motorcycle. And that's another story I have to tell you about the motorcycle. But like I can barely afford a motorcycle. How are you affording a Mustang? It's not the same. So anyways, too much talking. Um, yeah, let me just tell you the motorcycle story before I forget, because I will probably forget at the end of all this. Uh, Yesterday, my motorcycle's back tire was like weird. Like it felt like it was flat. Like I felt like something was wrong. I was with someone. We were like we went to the theater. Um, but it's like it felt like the tire was flattish-ish. So I filled it with air. Then afterwards, went home after everything, and I was at home. And today, this morning, my dad tells me my motorcycle tire is like flat to the point where it's about to completely die. So I was like, okay, I have to go to the place that fixes the tire. And the one that I typically go to was closed, so I went to another one. And I went to that place and I got it checked, and in my tire there was a nail. I want to say it's a nail that was like this long. Like we're talking about a nail that was literally longer than my middle finger. Like it was a giant nail that was jammed into my tire. And I was like, ooh. So the guy pulled it out, of course. He put something in there so that way the air wouldn't escape. And yeah, that cost $2.50. I kind of feel like the place that I normally go to would have maybe charged me $2 or $1.50. But I'm not going to complain about the price. I just wanted the tire to be okay, because I don't like putting myself at risk. And if I put myself at risk, I put everyone at risk when I'm driving my motorcycle. So, just a little bit of a story time today, a little bit of a unforeseen expense. But yeah, going into the next comment, we have Hadi NDIF. This outrage, or I don't know if you mean by the outage, is an outside job. If you mean my outrage at the situation, well, I don't know who would want to pay me for that, but no. If you mean outage, then there have been speculations that this is actually just a plan, like was talked about before by a previous government that is trying to influence in the public's opinion of the current government. So it could be. Honestly, there's so many things that could be, like could be's, that I don't know what to believe anymore. I actually talked about this with someone the other day that they call me naive because I believe what the news says. And I'm like, but I mean, why would the news lie to us? And I know someone out here right now in the live stream is probably laughing too. The news outlets lie all the time. But I mean, if I can't report to you what's happening in the news, obviously I can report to you what I see in my daily life and what my friends and family tell me, but it's not going to be like enough. Like there's so many things that's why I need to use the news as like a backup in order to give you more information. So yeah, let's see here. Beyond border, even El Salvador isn't all that safe. There are many international journalists and deep cover reporters who claim he's cooking with the books, as they say. All right. Yes, but their view of Switzerland is from living in a wealthy. Probably. That's once again. That's why I'm saying. Like, I think the problem is always going to go back to the same thing, where we don't realize that the situation is never going to change as long as there's disparity in wealth. And even if the disparity in wealth were to shift to the point where there is no more poor and there is only middle class and upper class, like in theory, at least the way that I see the system, I don't think that it's fair or right, but the upper class depends on the lower class to do the jobs that they're not willing to do. If there is no lower class, then of course there are going to be jobs that are going to be left undone, and that's going to cause a problem in general in society. I don't agree with this. I don't like that that could be a situation, but it's like I kind of see why the rich want to keep the poor, poor and make them poorer, because then afterwards they can keep being rich and not have to worry about the consequences if they no longer have people who are poor. Thought process might be wrong, just something that I've thought about before, that I think about sometimes, because I just don't see why, if a rich person has so much, why they would feel the need to be so bad, mean, negative. I don't know. Things that I see online also don't help in this situation. But anyways, every country has a wealth gap. That doesn't make them any less Ecuadorian. Every country has a lower income class, middle class, and upper class. True. It's just like I said. There's such a big difference between all of us that it's hard for me to say that I can understand the upper class if they can't even understand me. And like I said, I feel like that's just going to be impossible to resolve. Like it's something that's impossible to change, because the wealthy aren't going to stop being wealthy because we ask them to stop being wealthy, and the poor can't just stop being poor by saying I'm going to stop being poor. It's just not the way things work. Nancy, hello Ace, how is everything going? Everything is going well. I am alive. I'm still concerned about being sick. I almost forgot that this morning, these past 2 days actually, but this morning I was doing exercises for vertigo, because I had I had that whole situation of vertigo from 5 months ago at a lower level than what I had 5 months ago, but still, when you feel vertigo symptoms, especially after the first case of vertigo I had, it's kind of traumatizing. The good thing is this time it was just like if I stood up, and if I tried to walk, like my body would try to lean me to the left. The last time I had vertigo, it was like I was dizzy in general, and it just felt terrible. I do not recommend vertigo to anyone, not like anyone would want it, but I definitely don't want anyone to go through that. So remember, when you lay down in bed, or if you ever lay down, never let your head plop on the pillow, even if it's a soft pillow. Just lay down, always just, take it easy, and don't let your head smack against something. Let's see. Best thing Ecuador can do is lower crime rates and imprison criminals. Hello, Raimo, by the way. and encourage tourism to bring money into the country. Ideally, a less intense El Salvador tactic. Ecuador can benefit a lot more from tourism. Ecuadorians themselves always talk about the idea that tourism is one of Ecuador's saving graces, and it's one of the things we have to learn to exploit because our country is so rich in scenery and in beauty. It's just incredibly pretty. It's just it always feels like it's never taken advantage of correctly. I know the Ministry of Tourism does its job. They're working and everything, but it just never feels like it's enough. And that's where we always come to the disagreement of what is going to be enough. What is enough in the eyes of, fixing the situation in the country. And then I kind of also feel like if tourism starts becoming too big a thing, I'm concerned that tourists may be targeted. I don't want that to happen. I hope that doesn't happen, but I'm always worried about the possibility of it happening. Because if tourism is affected, and I've talked about this before, like if a person comes to the country and they realize that the situation is just then it looks fine at first. They come in, they're on their trip, and then in the middle of their trip, something terrible happens. It's not just that moment of something terrible happening that is bad. It's what comes next. Because if you just imagine going to a restaurant. If you get terrible service, what do? You tell your friends about it. You make a review about it. And you inform people about your terrible service that you received. And then what happens to that restaurant? People don't go because they realize that they have terrible service. So what happens in Ecuador if a person leaves the country with something really bad happening? Then it just shatters the country's reputation. That's why I always tell everyone. That's why I always try to be realistic on my channel, because I don't want anyone to come here with unrealistic expectations. It's okay to have expectations to a certain point, but temper your expectations, because once you think something is perfect, when it's not, you're going to tell everyone it's not perfect, and then it's going to end up ruining the image more than having been honest in the first place. If you knew that could happen and you made that choice yourself, then the only person you have to blame is yourself. And you can, of course, blame the criminals, but, you made the choice. So going on, do you feel his policies have done enough to combat these groups? 2, do you and the people of Ecuador, from your field of public sentiment, feel that the ongoing presence of the military is keeping people safe? Okay, the policies have done enough to combat these groups? No. They've done a lot in the sense that you see that there are people actually imprisoned. You see that things are actually in some way happening. But it feels like it's not the only answer. And we can go back and use an example from the United States. And I talked about, I don't like making comparisons, but this is the best thing I can compare it to. In the States, crime never ends because you don't tackle the problem at its root. And the root of the problem of crime, for the most part, crime, addiction, and anything else, poverty, unfortunate circumstances. And unfortunately here, there's a lack of education, because just think about how people talk about what country life is like. And this is, once again, going into the things that people talk about. I have friends who tell me that they have family from the country who their family come from very poor conditions. In fact, I think if it wasn't in part 1, in part 2 of the video that I'm going to make with my friends Alejandra and Yayo, they actually mentioned that. One of my friends actually mentioned that they have a family that was really poor, that their parents or their grandparents, they had infinite babies. I know infinite's an exaggeration, but they had let's just say 12 children. And they didn't even have enough for themselves, and they went out of their way to have more children than they could possibly ever handle. So it's the education of people is poor. And I know for someone in a first world country, you'd be like, but sex ed is so common. There's condoms. Even here, there's free condoms. If you go to certain places. But it's even then, people do the craziest things. And it's you're not changing the situation. You're just making it worse. But you also can't blame the people for making it worse if they don't have an adequate education to know that you shouldn't do that. that the reason why you're unwealthy is because you're doing that. You're like, and I'm not saying like that as in like, you can go ahead and have like your happy moments with your couple, but it's like you have to be responsible about it. Don't bring children into the world that you're not ready to take care of, that you don't have the means to take care of, because you're just going to give them a terrible life. And that's what a lot of the new age people say, the current generation talks about, that they don't want to have kids and everything because they just can't afford them. But it's like, realistically, I can barely fend for myself. How am I going to fend for kids? It's like it wouldn't be fair. So yeah, do I think the policies have done enough? I can't say that they have, but I do feel like they've done something. Oh, Frank, thank you very much. I appreciate the donation. It helps out a ton. Let's see here. Going into the other part of the question, do you and the people of Ecuador feel, from your field of public sentiment, feel that the ongoing presence of the military is keeping people safe? It depends on where you're at. In fact, let's pull up the article that the first thing that I want to talk about. Well, first I'll pull up this article, which shows you that there's still problems here in the country. So there's still crime in places like San Borondon. And this was June 22nd. And the reason I pulled up this one was because I think someone left me a comment on my most recent video where they asked me about like what crime happened yesterday when I released the video. And this was what happened. There was an assassination of a guy. So that's one thing. But the thing that I wanted to show you was this. And it basically says that in 9 out of 10 districts in Guayaquil, there was a reduction of assassinations between January and June. So only in El Progreso, there was an increase in crime. So you can say that, yes, there have been changes, but a reduction does not mean the elimination of crime. And what everyone wants and what everyone dreams of, the ideal situation for everyone, is for crime to be gone. Like, who wants crime? And unfortunately, that's just not what's happening. But we're being very unrealistic about it, in my opinion, as well, because you can't expect something that's been rooted into the country for so many years to disappear like that. It's like the same thing I tell people when they talk about doing a diet, when they talk about making a change in their lifestyle, when they talk about doing something different. How do you expect things to change? Like something that you've done for years. How do you expect to see a big change in, for example, 1 week? Your 1 week is going up against all the years that you've been doing that thing. So it's unrealistic to believe that that 1 week is going to compensate all of that time. And we love to dream. We love to hope that this is the solution, but it just isn't. It isn't an immediate solution. It's a solution towards the future. Because I think part of what I remember reading, and once again, I don't have the article, so I can't really confirm that this was the case, but part of what I remember reading was that Daniel Noboa is basically setting things up so that the next government, which, I mean, some people hope it's him. I kind of do hope it's him because he's the one with this plan. So that the next government is ready to take over the office and like to take the office and do things right, to have like a foundation where it's easier to do things. Because I feel like every other government has just been leaving the situation worse and worse and worse. So we can't guarantee that things are going to get better. We're trying to get funds, which is going back into the situation with the subsidies, but there are some conflicts with that as well. So I hope that answers your question. Beyond Borders, honestly, I do feel like it's doing something, just not for everyone. Here in the city, like I said, we had 5, like I mentioned in the last video, there were 3, but there were actually 5 unlifing attempts in 1 day. So, or in 2 days maybe, but it's crazy considering how much the military is supposed to be making a difference. And it's really close to home in a city like mine that's not even the main city in the country. Imagine cities like Guayaquil and Quito. Maybe they have a bigger military presence. Cool, that would be great. But can't confirm that at this moment because I'm not in Guayaquil. And from the things that I see in the news, it just doesn't feel like that actually is the case. Let's see here. I think I actually closed down something that I did want to read. Or no, was it this? I was reading something that said where the military were saying that they were infiltrating the places where the criminals had people kidnapped and things like that. And one of the comments from the military was like, "This is a nightmare. This is just terrible," because it's never ending. There was also a comment on my last video where someone mentioned about someone being kidnapped, and they had things done to them against their consent. So it was like, things are happening. People don't believe it, but things are happening. Let me pull up this image of Noboa again, because I saw this and I thought it was pretty funny. This was 5 days ago. So apparently Noboa analyzed the construction of a jail in Antarctica. And it's like the comments are pretty funny. But let me translate them. So let's see here. Where's the translator? I have to right click. Let's see. Can I translate this? Translate to English. Yes, please. Did it translate? Well, anyways, I'll just translate it. So Noboa in the land of ice. Oh, it isn't responding. That's why. Wait. I want 10,000 military with ponchos and 10,000 military in, I guess you could say, tank tops, so that the people who are wearing the ponchos can look warm. And then he'll organize them in this way: poncho, tank top, poncho, tank top. They're making a reference to something. I'm not sure what it is, but it's pretty funny that like there's this idea. Let's see here. And here, legally, this cannot be done. The treaties on Antarctica dictate the area can only be used for scientific investigation. Treaty that this is impossible. I'm not sure if he actually claimed to possibly pursue this option, or if this is all BS from the media, because it could be. So many things. So yeah. Let me go back to Raimo's comment now. Do you think Ecuador will reach a boiling point and the military will be forced? Hold on, I'm going to close down some of these tabs to make the stress on the laptop a little bit less. Boiling point and the military will be forced to scorch earth. The criminals will start building new prison infrastructure and increase imprisoning tenfold. Now that I think about it, I don't think I closed it. Yeah, I didn't close it. There was someone who said something about the Viveza. Where is it? Here. With the Viveza that our criminals have, after 6 months, they're probably going to have a jacuzzi in the prison in Antarctica, and they're going to have a pen where they're breeding penguins, and they're going to have high-speed internet. That's just how little faith people have in the military, the police, in the justice system here in Ecuador, in the force that's supposed to keep us safe. So I don't really see them doing like an extreme thing. Like, what would be the boiling point? Like, what would be the point where the police would do something? I mean, we already saw how at the beginning of the year, the mafias, like, they were holding prison people, like, they were like ending their lives because they didn't want to follow their little rules. They didn't want to give in to their demands. So it's like, we already saw where there should have been a boiling point. And you could say that there was, because there was the infiltration of the prison. But it's like, even reaching that boiling point, we're still in a situation where you every day hear about some kind of crime happening. And it's crazy. And I had another article pulled up and I closed it down, but I did show it for like a few seconds where that was something that happened today. So it's like, every day there's something happening. If there was a boiling point, I feel like we already long past it and we haven't done anything. People are kind of just, if it doesn't affect you, you feel okay. Like, realistically, I'm not in the middle of the war zone where things are happening. So I'm okay in the sense that I'm safe. I don't feel good. In fact, I should drink some water. I don't feel good, that these things are happening, but there isn't much I can do except for talk about it on this platform and hope that someday the president will see it, or someday some kind of authority will see it and realize, oh no, I've been doing bad. I should do things right because it looks like people are talking about it, because it seems like they only take action when you notice that they're not doing things. But, you know, it's kind of stressful. Crime will always exist, even the cartel. Law enforcement can only help reduce, not eliminate. Once you have this type of crime, it will never go away. Sad, but true. Kind of wish that there were, it's just that what dictates crime will always change. Even if you had a society that's near perfect, I feel like once you have that perspective of what's good, seeing what's wrong becomes a lot clearer. So something minimal will become like crime. I think that's kind of similar to the problem that Japan is having, where they have, how do I explain this? They're so clean, they're so like rigid on their rules that it feels like you can't do anything there. And because even the smallest thing, what people would consider to be a small thing, would be seen as something bad. I honestly wouldn't care. Like I love following rules that are like, if there's a rule, I'm gonna follow it because that's what the rules are for. So it's like, and I love the idea of a society that's super like clean and super nice. So it's like I would follow the rules. Of course, if I made a mistake, I would recognize it and be like, okay, I won't do that again next time. But over here, it's the other extreme. Like over there, it's like super clean, super extreme, and over here, it's like you do something wrong. People, if they don't call you out on it, you'll keep doing it, and if they do call you out on it, you'll be like, "F you," and you'll keep doing it. Like that's the problem with over here, and that's why things never change. So it's like yeah, crime will always exist, but I feel like both extremes are bad. If the place is too nice, there's gonna be, everything is gonna look like it's bad if it's not following the norm. And if everything is too not strict, not nice, then people are gonna do whatever they want. The extra evil was to maintain military presence. Did President Daniel Noboa, at any time that you're aware of, say the military would continue to fight crime in place of the police? I wouldn't say he used those exact terms. Like honestly, like I said, but maybe sometimes I don't realize the difference between using one word, the wording of something, how much of a difference it can make in the interpretation of it. But it did feel like what he said was, we need the money in order to keep the military on the streets and to keep combating crime, to be able to mitigate this situation, the crime situation. So, it feels like he did say, like, this is what needs to be done in order to make things better. There is a difference between a presence and actively doing something. Just wondering if he drew a distinction between. Like I said, the exact wording, I'd be hard pressed to be able to tell you if that was the case or not. Let's see here. RKBA, what's up? I follow everything on IG and Twitter, and there is something happening daily. I am scheduled to visit my girlfriend who lives in Sur Guayaquil. Hey, congratulations. I hope you have a great time with your girlfriend. And good on you for keeping track of everything. Just don't let it traumatize you. Since your girlfriend, from what you're saying, lives in the south of Guayaquil, as long as you're with her family, and you follow the things that she tells you to do, you should be fine. Unless she happens to be a criminal herself, then that would be the worst case scenario. But let's not think about that as a possibility. Daniel, what's up? Buenas tardes, Ace. Buenas tardes, Daniel. Qué chimba fue aprendiendo francés, solo ahorita lo era divertido. You were learning French, and now you think it's fun. That's the way I interpreted it. But I like how you said que chimba, because that's not an Ecuadorian expression, but it's like how cool, or I think it's like something like saying like that's great or it's great. But we don't use that very much here. Like over here, you say sometimes que chido or que genial, like how great. So yeah. Raimo, what do you think about Noboa meeting with Nayib Bukele to talk about this about his territorial control plan. Kind of weird in that regard about that, because over here, he actually, in one of these images, he said that Bukele is arrogant and he dedicates himself to controlling everything and the power for himself and to enriching his family. And some people in the comments of this Reddit post were saying like he's like Noboa is kind of a hypocrite because of that, because like in Bukele's face, like he congratulates him and he tells him, hey, you're doing a good job. But over here, he's basically saying that he's arrogant. So it's kind of like everyone goes back into this idea that Noboa is kind of putting on a show. So I don't know. If this is actually what he said, then it's kind of wonky, in my opinion. But yeah, just something that I saw now that you mentioned that. What do you think about? Oh yeah, that was the thing about Noboa. Like, if he does have a plan, and Nayib Bukele doesn't take this offensively, then I think it's cool. Like, I don't know what the exact plan is. I remember seeing Bukele's plan, and I think I talked about it on stream once before, where Bukele wants to make the people who are criminals do community service in order to get reductions in their crimes. I think they actually do that. And I think that's great, because you're making them useful to society instead of just being useless in jail. But I don't know how people would apply that over here. I do think that the prison system needs to be controlled by an external entity, just because internally we don't seem to be able to do things right, because there's always going to be someone who wants to do things, like we say over here, por la izquierda, on the left, do things not legally. So you help the criminals because the criminals offer you money, or they threaten your family, and then you're not able to do anything to them because you're worried about your family's safety. RKBA, I'm having second thoughts about taking the trip, not only for my safety, but her and her family as well, when people see us together. I think that you shouldn't second guess the trip. In fact, if I were you, and of course I'm not you, but I don't know what your economic situation is or what hers is, and why the whole family is included in this. I do realize people are family oriented, but I kind of also think you should avoid big groups. But anyways, I don't know what the plan is, but if you're planning on coming here and spending time with her and her family, if there's the possibility, and I know that this is asking for a lot, and once again, depends on your situation, maybe decide to go somewhere that's not Guayaquil. Like, you just come to Guayaquil to land, and then everyone grabs a bus and you guys go to Cuenca or to a different city that's a little bit safer. So yeah, that's my thought on that. Hola, saludos a todos desde Panama. Hello, how's it going over in Panama? I actually just saw a video. I don't know if you guys checked out Don Shader's most recent video of his interview with Terry, and Terry was telling us about the situation in Panama. Well, what it was like moving to Panama. So I thought it was pretty cool. And you have to be careful with those types of postings because they could be fake. I think that Noboa and Bukele do get along and like each other. Yeah, I mean, that's what I thought too. That's why when I saw this, I thought it was pretty crazy. But here, it's like, it's from El Universo, the news source. And also, if this person over here, they actually put a link where if you go into the link, I don't know if it's over here. No, it's over here. It gives you a whole copy and paste, I guess, of everything that was talked about. I kind of wanted to talk about this in a video in the future, like maybe talk about what's going on with these things. But you can also look at it yourself if you find this post. By the way, this post, so that you can look it up on Reddit at some time. It's the interview with Daniel Noboa in the New Yorker. So if you have some time, consider checking it out. I just wanted to use it as a reference point to show you a little bit of the things that are happening here and some things that have been talking about, So yeah. Unless you have a clip not created by AI, certified. Of course, AI nowadays is dangerous there too. How would you feel about copying Bukele mass imprisonment tactic and creating new, more effective prisons to put them in? Honestly, since I'm not a criminal, I'm not completely against it. I do kind of feel concerned about the whole human rights thing, but at the same time, I'm kind of tired of normal, everyday citizens who don't deserve to have their human rights taken away from them, for them to have to suffer because we don't want to take away the human rights from someone else. So basically, little by little, my perspective on, letting them like reform is kind of going away, because I just feel like they've had a lot of time to reflect on their actions, and they just seem to keep doing things worse and worse. But yeah, here. Okay, so let's move on to the situation with the subsidies, and I'm going to translate this. So Ecuador seeks to reduce fuel subsidies and raise the price of gasoline by 10%. And I actually saw, and I think I should go over here. What do you prefer in regards to the subsidies? The opinion of the person who made this post is to take away all the subsidies, and that the money should be given to people who are poor, to poorer people, people in economic straits. Um, as an example, if a person from a place that's rich comes and buys gasoline, to a poor person, it doesn't matter, because, I mean, they can't even buy gasoline because they don't even have a car, which makes sense in some ways. I mean, I don't have a car, and I can't imagine of being able to afford one, even if I save this whole year. We got to start making the fun to get a car, to be able to go to different places. That would be awesome. But no, anyways, let's see here. So the situation with the subsidies, there's a lot of different opinions. The one that I love was ironically the first one, where they're talking about keeping the eco, which is the cheapest gas, to keep it cheap, keep it subsidized. And then, like, if you're going to put a subsidy, like to take away the subsidy from something, to do it on the super, because the super gasoline, which is the premium one, is one that if people want to buy it, they're going to buy it, yes or yes. But on the other hand, penalizing the common Ecuadorian, like normal citizens who can barely afford normal gasoline, seems kind of like not good. Aside from the fact that once again, if you increase the price of gas, we've talked about this before, you increase the price of everything. Because if gas is more expensive, that means the transportation of goods becomes more expensive. If the transportation of goods becomes more expensive, in order to not have a loss, to not lose money, you raise the price of your goods to the average consumer. So then the consumer has to pay more, not just for gas, but for normal goods. So it's kind of like, it seems kind of crazy to hurt everyone with the subsidy. Apparently, one of the reasons that I understand that they want to remove the subsidy is because the criminals are buying the gas. So it's like, in order to make it more difficult for them to buy it, they make the gas more expensive. But that also feels like, I mean, you're punishing everyone for something that you should only punish the criminals for. And I know you can't just target the gas that the criminals are buying, but it certainly doesn't help the average Ecuadorian citizen to have their gas increased. And it's like, I mean, it's like I talked about in my previous video, like, I already waste a lot of money, spend a lot of money. I already have a lot of expenses. And it's like, to just pile up on that when I'm not causing a problem to anyone just feels kind of like cruel and unusual punishment for something that I'm not doing. And it's already pretty bad as it is. Every day I realize that even 3 jobs might not be enough unless all 3 jobs are paying amazingly or the same amount. All right. Let's see here. Beyond Borders, is it true Noboa didn't raise taxes on the wealthy and corporations to solve the financial need before taxing the low-income citizens? Everyone talks about that, and one of the reasons why everyone talks about that is because he won't even charge his dad, the richest man in Ecuador, some things that he owes to the IRS. So people are pretty frustrated about that. So I honestly don't remember if that was like that actually is the case, but I wouldn't be surprised. Daniel, sientes la compasión por los criminales, es muy porque yo conozco la gente de mi ciudad que no tuvo elección. Do you feel compassion for criminals? It's because I know people in my city who didn't have the choice. It's not that I feel compassion. I just always realize that the situation isn't just you're a criminal because you chose to be a criminal. Yes, you did eventually choose to be a criminal, but you weren't born a criminal. I don't think there are many very cases of people who were born criminals. I feel like the situations in life drove them to do that. And yes, there is no justification I can give to a person who ends someone's life or who decides to go down the path of being a criminal. But it just feels like we don't really help these people when they need it. And of course, you can't be there for everyone. But it's like if we never had a situation where people had to like be in such poor like income situations or like such a poor lifestyle growing up, then we probably wouldn't even have criminals, or we would have the types of criminals that I said before, the ones that are just like maybe they do something that's a little bit not good. Like to me, it can like I view people making noise at 4 a.m. as a crime, because dude, people are trying to sleep. But that's not as big a crime as killing someone. So what I'm saying is, if we didn't, if everything was in order and like there were only criminals who were making noise at 4 in the morning, then crime wouldn't even be really all that big of a situation. You know, things would be so much better. At least in my opinion, of course. Thank you very much, Daniel. I appreciate it. One word to describe Ace's comment: thorough. Yeah, that's why at the beginning of this live stream, I will repeat it right now. I said that if this live stream, I mean, I don't plan on it taking longer than, I don't want it to take longer than an hour, but I can't guarantee that. And the projection is for it to be about 2 hours long. Could be less, maybe an hour and a half. But like if you're looking for a really quick, dose of what I need to talk about, then I have other videos on my channel. So yeah. I appreciate it, Daniel. It helps out a lot. But yeah, going back into the comments from Rimo, I think business owners are suffering badly from extortion threats, kidnapping family members, lack of tourism, especially in Guayaquil. Well, yeah, I mean, unfortunately, Guayaquil is the place where like there's like the accumulation, like that's where everyone gathers for these things to happen. And it's understandable because it's a port city. That's why sometimes you hear that there's also crime in cities like Manta. Even Puerto Viejo had these recent situations with crime, though the crime in Puerto Viejo feels more like the typical, what I've been explaining this whole time, like why you shouldn't worry. If you're not a criminal, if you're not someone who's dealing with drugs or who's dealing with like with cartel, like you shouldn't have to worry as much as someone who is. Like you do have to worry that maybe you're next to someone who does that. Maybe your friend who acts innocent is involved in something like that. But like if you're not in it, like for the most part, your concern is much less than someone who is. Let's see here. But yeah, there's definitely a lot of weird things happening. And like I said before, there was a comment on my channel. Like if you watch my previous video, the one that I just made, posted yesterday, like someone left a comment and that was pretty dark about, they talked about how someone was kidnapped. They had things done to them against their will. And it's just pretty crazy to hear that happened in the area that they mentioned. Let's see here. Rimo, again, are you still happy moving to work and live in Ecuador instead of the US? To be real with you, when I came here, like I said, I think I talked about this before, I was more of a kid. So like, honestly, I didn't want to come here. because I had a life that was in the States. Like, I'm not saying I didn't want to come here because I thought, oh, it was going to be terrible. But like, when you have a life in a different country and you love that life, like, how do you pull yourself away from the things that you love? It's really hard. So now that I'm in here in Ecuador, like, I've gotten used to it. I'm very happy with the people I've met. There's a special someone that shout out to her, who I've met recently. And it's like things have changed. It's like, and I'm not just talking about now, but throughout the years, little by little, I've just like, I love this country. I just feel really sad about the things that happen. Don't let my videos ever fool you. I was planning on making a video, does Ace hate Ecuador? Because I'm pretty sure some people, I've read a comment before of someone saying, man, you talk negative about your country. Like, yeah, because I'm realistic and I don't want anyone to come here like not seeing the reality. Like, if I can at least like help you prepare a little bit, then you won't come here like and have something terrible happen to you, you know? So I'm happy now. I'm unhappy that my work doesn't pay a lot. Like, I mentioned it in the video, like, I am earning like 3 different salaries, of course. YouTube is like a bonus. It helps a little bit, but it doesn't change my life. And realistically, I know it might be hard to believe because in the States, I think it's pretty normal to earn like maybe like $1,000, and for some people like who have really good jobs, maybe even a week. But with the 3 salaries that I have, I don't even make it to $1,000. So it's like, it's pretty crazy. Like, there might be months, like, if this month YouTube, like, I got paid a lot in YouTube, like, I might actually make it to $1,000, which isn't going to be the case from what I saw, what I showed in the video. But it's like, there could be a month where I earn a little bit more, maybe because I even had some extra hours at my academy where I'm working at. Um, but it's just not guaranteed. And with how much I have to spend during the month, like helping with the house and on the things that I have to spend on, like, it's just enough for me to like save a little bit and hopefully at the end of the year say, okay, I can buy myself something nice. Or if I maybe tell myself, oh, maybe here from here to next year, I can maybe finance a car. But that's the reality. That's what I can afford. That's what I can do. I'm always hopeful that I'll get a sponsorship of something that I love here, so that way maybe I can make the situation a little bit better. But that just doesn't seem to be something that happens. And it's weird because there are channels with less subscribers and like who people say, no, that channel's not as good as yours. But like, that doesn't matter, because if they have less subscribers and they have the brand deal or they have some kind of sponsorship, then they're clearly doing something better than I am. But yeah, not really something I want to think about too much, because when it comes to the situation with money, I think that's the thing that stresses me out the most, because I'm always concerned about how I'm going to have enough to be able to help in the house, save for the things that I want, and still have enough money to not have to limit myself like one weekend and say, okay, I'm going to go hang out with my friends, or I'm going to go buy myself something nice. So it's like, it's just things. And I realize that's maybe how would you say this? A selfish thing to say, because I know someone out there might think, oh, but Ace, there are people who have it worse. They don't even have one job and things like that. But it's like, you feel like when you're working 3 jobs and you're like working really hard, that you deserve to like at least be able to enjoy the money that you make and not just have to put it away and save it for a rainy day. So it's just a lot of things that like I think about sometimes, but that's why we keep working to make things better. Let's see here. RKBA, appreciate your comments. She lives with fam and wants me to stay at her apartment upstairs. She wants to take the 4-hour ride to Cuenca for a day trip, but then return. I'm only visiting for 3 days. Thoughts? Ooh, she wants to take 4-hour ride to Cuenca for a day trip. I mean, I don't know what time you guys would be leaving. Like, if you guys go to Cuenca, let's just assume you go at 6 in the morning, you arrive at 10, 11, you see the sights, you hang out for your day with the special someone that you have. and realistically you come back at 6, I mean, once again, my comment from my last video, what are you comfortable with? Honestly, I feel like for the trip that you're making from the States to over here, like it would be cool if you guys had more time to hang out or do something else, not have to worry about a 4-hour ride. Like that just feels kind of unfortunate. I thought you'd be here a little bit longer. Maybe like either way, the best thing is that obviously you're going to spend time with her. And like what I'd like to think is that even if you get to see the person that you like and or love for like 5 minutes, that's like 5 more minutes than if you would have not seen them. So it's great. But at the same time, like you have to be realistic with yourself. Is that okay with you? Do you want to see her for more time? Maybe you guys decide not to go to Cuenca, but spend more time in the city, but in a safe place in the city. Maybe go to the mall. Like I do think you should go to Cuenca. I just feel like 4 hours to get to Cuenca feels really tough. Like you lose 4 hours in the trip, and not just there, but 4 hours back. Because I'm thinking in my mind that you'll have to come back at 6 in order to be back in this in Guayaquil by 10, because even 10 is kind of late. So it's like to be in Guayaquil, it just seems kind of I don't know, concerning. I don't know what time you guys are planning to come back though. I'm just setting an hour based on what I'm seeing in my mind, what I'm projecting. I could be wrong. Maybe you guys are going to plan to come back later, which puts you at more risk. Maybe you're planning to come back earlier, which puts you at less risk, but gives you less time to actually enjoy the city of Cuenca. I don't know. Feels kind of iffy. Okay. Beyond Borders, do you think Noboa will try to privatize many sectors that are currently publicly funded and are subsidized? Eliminate subsidies? Like, it does seem like he's planning on eliminating some subsidies. I can't say that he would. I have heard that they're trying to make it so that electricity becomes privatized, but I don't know if that what's gonna happen in general. Like, do I think he'll do it? I think he's capable of doing it. I think he would if it means more money for the next government, because like I said, there's not much more he can do in this government. At least I don't think so. And it might not even be him who's going to be president next time. So it's going to depend on the next president too. So I don't know. I feel like he's capable of, he would. I just don't know how well it's going to be seen in the eyes of the population. I agree with you to raise the cost of gasoline. Will also raise inflation. Beyond Borders, better educated citizens would be a major step to reduce violent crime. A living wage would be a good second step, of course. Hello, NetFreak. Some highly educated folks are criminals too. Think about hackers. You are 120% correct. Unfortunately, that just is going to be something inevitable, of course, like in any society. But I feel like the amount of people who would become hackers is much less than the amount of people that we have becoming narcos and mafia members. So, you know. Hello, Alexandra. How's it going? Hi, I get frustrated when real estate businesses invite expats to buy properties in Ecuador without first mentioning the levels of crime and alerting them first. Misleading. Buyers beware. Your thoughts. I do think that's unfair to the people who come. That's why I always, by the way, hello, Aaron. I'm sorry. I wanted to answer Alexandra's question first. So I do think it's unfair. And that's why my channel, like one of the things that I emphasize on my channel is transparency, honesty, telling you the things as it is. Just like my good brother, Don Shader, we always try to be real. And I don't know if you guys recently watched Living Loving Abroad's video, where one of the videos that they made, like they did the grocery shoppings and they talked about their daily life. Like those are the realistic things that you need to hear about in order to see what life is actually like. I mean, I would love to, even Alves has been like traveling all around the country showing different parts. And the unfortunate thing about that is only the fact that like you can be in a seemingly safe place in one moment of the day, but in another moment there could be an assassination attempt. But that is something that can happen anywhere. So realistically, you just have to be prepared. and listen to the actual facts and know that this is something that can happen, so that you're not like blindsided the moment you come here. So yeah, I think it's unfair. There should definitely always be a person to give you that kind of advice. I like to be that kind of person who tells you this is what could happen, because I hate when people don't tell me what could happen, and then I'm just like, why didn't you tell me? So, you know, not that I don't like surprises, but that kind of surprise is not one I want to have when I come visit a country that I'm planning on living in. So, Aaron, what did you miss? You missed the hellos, the buenas. No, but for real, you missed a little bit of the conversation about crime. I did tell a little bit of stories about what happened today. We talked about the subsidies. Basically, to summarize it, crime still rampant. Gotta be careful. Subsidies possibly going to happen in gas. Not fair for average citizens because, I mean, that could end up messing with the economy as a whole. You raise the gas, that means people who transport things more expensive. The things being transported are probably going to go up in price, and as an average everyday consumer, I'm going to end up paying more. Beyond borders, privatizing electricity. This would be good if the government doesn't subsidize the operational cost. On the downside, it will make the corporations wealthier and increase stock values. As people in capitalist nations know, this will cause major price increases as a corporation won't operate at a loss. Well, not sure what I can say about that because I don't know over here. I don't feel like I understand much of those things about, you know, being a capitalist nation. I just know that over here, the realistic parts of the country, the more, you know, let's talk about these kinds of things parts. But I'll take your word for it. Netfreak, hombre, can I make a contribution to you via Amazon in form of a gift card? If you'd like, but the only thing I would say about that, no, yeah, actually it is possible. I'm actually planning, that would actually help me out because I'm planning on making a video showing one of the services, two of the services actually. There's these two services that I want to talk about that bring things for people over here. So I can show it like, well, if you want to make a contribution, I could probably show you what I bring over, like, and how the process is. So yeah, it's possible. But you'd have to send it to me through email because here, obviously, probably not the best idea. RKBA, I totally agree with you on the Cuenca trip. The biggest dilemma for me is being a gringo, and with all the extortion and kidnappings, it makes it concerning for me to visit Guayaquil for me and her, even though I'm poor, lol. I get you. I would recommend you definitely, like, if you're gonna be in Guayaquil, like, if anything, like I said, first day you're in Guayaquil, like, immediately just go to Cuenca, and if you guys can, spend 2 days in Cuenca or spend a whole day in Cuenca and then come back the final day to Guayaquil so you can prepare to go back home. That way it feels like your trip to Cuenca was more worth it, in my opinion. Beyond Borders, it was just an opinion. No, that's fine. I like it when people give their opinions, and especially about things that maybe I don't completely understand, especially if you can explain them to me, because then afterwards I learned something new as well. I kind of like to think about the way that Moist Critical Charlie talks about it. Like, he's like, my reptile brain, and sometimes I think the same thing, like my little reptile brain sometimes doesn't understand all these things, you know? So yeah. So let's see here. Let's go past the subsidies. This was in regards to the power outages. And then there was this. This was a video of this investigator analyzing the situation with Coca-Cola. And apparently Coca-Cola is doomed to disappear no matter what happens. And apparently this is due to sedimentation in the plant. And it's like, no matter how many times they fix it, no matter how many times they try to make things better, it's always going to have problems. So it's like Coca-Cola is basically doomed. And in this short video, they do talk a little bit about like who's at fault. And the lady doesn't really want to give an answer. Like, I feel, and I'm kind of thinking she doesn't want to give an answer because she doesn't want to be targeted for giving an answer. But who made the Coca-Cola plant? Who had it made? And how poor were the investigations done to the area before having it made, that, you know, they couldn't have foreseen something like this happening. You can't foresee everything, I realize that, but I mean, this was a pretty big investment that was made for the country, and it feels kind of ridiculous that they didn't do a really good job investigating, you know. So, you know, let's see here. Botanic, hello. What do you think about the Amazon regions, Morona Santiago and Zamora Chinchipe, looking at moving to a place that spans these borders in a community? Fruit Haven. Honestly, I don't hear enough about these regions to be able to give you a good enough opinion about them. I would love to do some investigations in regards to them, but I just don't feel like I have the time right now. I also got an email once, and I apologize if you're the person who sent me that email. I did read it, but I'm not able to do it. Maybe I can, but I'd have to really sacrifice time that I don't have. Basically asking me to investigate a certain part of the country in order to give more in-person information, make a video about it. Like, even with an investment to do that, it just feels like it's pretty hard to do because I'd have to spend at minimum, and that's like exaggerating, a day. It shouldn't be a day, because to get a good idea, I'd need at least 3 days at minimum, a week at maximum, to get a feel for the area, talk to some of the natives in the area, locals. I'd need to obviously stay at some place. Transportation, I wouldn't be able to do this by myself because it's just not safe no matter where you are. I prefer to always have a crew. If it's a video in my room, obviously I do it myself. If it's a video in the park, obviously I can do that myself. But I'd always prefer, if it's a video outside of the city, at least one other person. And for something like that, I need more people. So I can't give you an honest opinion, and I don't want to lie to you. So I think it sounds cool. The idea of the Amazon sounds great. Moving to a place like that. But I can't tell you if it would be ideal for you or not, or what would happen, you know. Beyond borders, I still say that the government should build a few solar farms to help as a backup in case there's another water shortage. Hey, you and me both. I would love for them to like think of other plans. I just don't know why they don't do it. Is there no money? Not enough money? I really don't know. It's so strange to me that we know the problem now, and we're still, like we say in Spanish, pataleando, like pretty much kicking our feet with the solution. Like, the solution is clear. Just go and like make an alternate source so that we stop suffering with the current source. So this article that I have now is one that talks about how there have been 18 paralyzations to Coca-Cola Sinclair. So basically 18 times where Coca-Cola just hasn't been functioning the way it should, which is wacky to me, considering how it's like one of our main sources of power, apparently, since it just seems that every time something happens with Coca-Cola, we don't have power. So I don't know. It's pretty crazy. There was also some other things here talking about erosion because of Coca-Cola Sinclair. And that caused some problems, some geological problems. But yeah, going back to the comments. RKBA, I think we plan on just staying at her house in Guayaquil Sur and not traveling to Cuenca due to the time constraints. Hopefully everything goes well. Thanks for your insight. Don't mention it, RKBA. I'm glad you're here, and I'm glad to be able to help. Really just try to stay safe in Guayaquil. Maybe try to go to places that are indoors and like safe. Like a walk around the mall, maybe go watch a movie together. I know, kind of weird to come to another country to watch a movie, but hey, you're watching it with the person you're with, and I think that's great. Romantic date. Like, I shouldn't be one to talk about these things because I've been single for so long, but it's like, just do something that would be like normal, nice, but special because you're taking a whole trip from your country to come here to do that. My thoughts, of course. My advice to you, RKBA, is to fly her over to Costa Rica and spend your time together there. It does not have to be an exorbitant vacation. That sounds cool too. Netfreak, fantastic. Then I suggest you add a link in your description to your Amazon gift section and your email address so that folks can contribute. Oh, that would be great. Well, honestly, like I'll put my email here, the email that you guys can send me emails if you need to talk to me or anything. If you want to like make a contribution, it just sounds so weird to say that, but you can send me something to that email, or if you just have a question and I have the time to answer it, you can of course send me an email and I'll try my best to answer it as long as I have an appropriate response. Channel members already know that they have the privilege that I'll respond as quickly as possible. I actually got a message, an email from one of my channel members the other day, and as soon as I saw it, like asking for help on something, I tried to reply as quickly as I could. That's just a privilege from being a member. But yeah, I appreciate the help. And like I said, I would mainly use an Amazon card in order to help make this video because like I was just planning on buying something that maybe I needed for work or maybe something extra. Like right now I need a speaker, not for videos, but a speaker for my classes because I give English classes. So that way I don't have to borrow the English area speaker, which has to be distributed between 4 teachers sometimes. So having my own would make it easier. I still have to buy the chair. It's been so stressful. I went to go search for chairs, and there's one that kind of tempts me, but it costs like, and it's not expensive. It's like $130, $150, and it's one of those ergonomic chairs, basic ergonomic chair. I just have concerns because sometimes those chairs, like I've investigated, and they say that those chairs, after maybe a few months, they're just like the pillow just like dies, especially when they're that cheap because they normally sacrifice quality for price. But I don't know. I've been investigating chairs for one to buy, and it's just like there's not one that like draws my attention. And if there have been one, like there was one that looked really nice. Not a gamer chair, once again, an ergonomic chair because I want one that's comfortable and not hot. Because there are the big fluffy office chairs, but those seem like they would be very hot. But the chair that I saw, it was kind of expensive, like a little bit over 250. But like I don't know. I always tell myself, and this is my logic when buying things. Like I like to buy things that are a little bit more expensive, a little bit more modern, in order for them to last a long time. So that way I don't have to buy anything of that category for a very long time. Like for example, this bed, I've had it for like this whole time I've been here almost for about maybe 8 years, but it's great. Like I don't think I have to change this bed. I do need new sheets, but you know. Um, but it's like I like to buy things that obviously last a long time, and that's obviously a big example. Like I've been wanting to get, for example, a laptop that like lasts. Like I got one from a subscriber before, which I did mention in a previous video, like in a previous live stream, and I can't say their name because I was never authorized to say their name. I wasn't unauthorized either, but they donated a laptop that was refurbished. It's nice. It works. It helps me with my streams. Like there are some things that are kind of like slow for the live streams. That's why I can't show you videos because the whole live stream would start lagging. It's helped me out a lot. I have had a problem with it at work. I had to buy an adapter. Ooh, I also wanted to mention something. I'll mention it in a bit, but let me grab my backpack. But yeah, I had to buy an adapter for it because it has a VGA port and none of the projection methods that we have at the school have VGA. Like everything is HDMI, and even HDMI in the States is pretty outdated, I think. So, you know. But anyway, I digress. Panama has modest prices, and Copa Airlines has great fares. Depending on where you are, it could be feasible. Alcoa, she can't visit Costa Rica. We have been traveling for the last 2 years, and now she wants me to meet her family. Oh, okay. Well, that gives a little bit more context. I hope you guys have a great time. Let's see here. Patricia, the channel Tiny Hands, Big Dreams is building a homestead in the Amazon. Their channel is a good resource. Thank you, Patricia, for letting us know this. Definitely check them out. Have no choice. I've been putting it off, lol. I don't see a way out now. Zoom trip. Zoom call, I mean. Let's see. ¿Qué será? Será. Aaron, go with lazy boy. Lol, last till you're an old man. Lazy boy. Let me investigate that. Hold up. Lazy boy. Lazy boy. Chair. Let's see here. Investigating. Oh. The thing with these chairs, it's like I said, I feel like they'd be kind of warm. I do think they would last forever, but the material that they're made out of feels like it would be warm. And I want something that's not like warm, you know? Beyond Borders, relationship, RKBA is always a two-way situation of give and take. She should be willing to take turns traveling, one time you to Ecuador, and then time her to Costa Rica and back and forth. I like their channel. We got to start mentioning them more. Tiny Hands, Big Dreams. Now, Lazy Boy, they make in China. Love Tiny Hands, Big Dreams. I live in the US and she can't visit. We have been traveling to other countries to see each other, and now she wants me to make the first trip to Ecuador. You know, I would say don't worry too much about it, RKBA. Don't overthink it, just be prepared. Like don't like I always say, don't go out and like put yourself at risk. And if you guys have been traveling a lot, I'm pretty sure she's smart enough to like be able to help you avoid the dangerous parts of the country. I'll trust her judgment, unless she gets overexcited and decides to like go to every place. Like you have to see these dangerous places. I don't think that's gonna happen. I'm looking at these chairs. They look nice. I just don't think I can find them over here. And importing one of these would be impossible. And besides, like I said, the Lazy Boy chairs just feel like they look kind of hot. Like they'd be not good for me. We got you, RKBA. We're wishing you the best on your date in Ecuador. I wanted to show you guys a little bit of an extra. So my students at the high school, I have a third back, which is basically like 12th graders. I have one group, and two students one gave me this little cuy. That's like a little cuy. I don't know if you would call it a keychain, but look, it's adorable. Oh, he goes, "Ah." And then another student, she gave me this pin. She had gone to Dubai, and I guess she had an extra pin, and she gave it to me. And like, I had never received like pins or like keychains like this before. Like, sometimes I've had students who like will share their food with me in the past, but like I've never gotten something that I can like show off like this. So I'm really happy. So yeah, just was something I wanted to show you, especially this cuy, because this was one from one of my students. She went to Quito for like a few days, maybe a week, I think it was. And she brought this back because she got it over there. So if you're ever looking for like a cute souvenir, look for this little cuy. Let's see here. Keep us posted, RKBA. We will live vicariously through you. The thing is, her house is located in a. Oh my God. That reminds me of a funny saying over here that people talk about, that the prettiest girls live in the most, like, refundido is like the most distant or like tucked away places. So it's like I can see how this situation is very much relating to you right now. Like, dang it. My girlfriend wants me to visit her, but she lives in a place that's dangerous. You'll be fine. I have faith. Let's see here. Patricia, taking a gringo boyfriend to dangerous neighborhoods in Ecuador could make for a great YouTube video. That would be great. That'd be pretty funny. You guys should come down to Puerto Viejo and we can make a video together. And we can show you eating in Cebollado. And definitely, and one thing I will say though, Guayaquil, if you're eating in Cebollado, then next to Puerto Viejo, where I live, Guayaquil is another a place that has good encebollado. So you're good over there. Just make sure she takes you to the good place if you eat encebollado. I love the guinea pig. Very realistic. Yes, it is adorable. I have it on my backpack when I go to the school, like with my guinea pig. I still don't have a name for it. So for now, I'm just calling it cuy, like they say it in Spanish. Cuy. How much gringo are you? Blonde and tall. I hear GPs make for good eating. So they say in Quito. This is the Ecuadorian version of guess who's coming to dinner? Gringo as gringo can be. You'll be fine. I mean, if she loves you already, then her family, I mean, I assume they're going to love you too. I don't think that's the concern. More is the concern of like being out in the wild. Aaron, haircut looks great. Appreciate it. Actually, also got rid of the beard. Another topic: who is responsible for infrastructure in the city? Is it the mayor? In theory, yes, it is. Because, like I said in my video, when Casanova was mayor of Puerto Viejo, the streets were looking great. Like everything was just changing for the better. And now that he's not mayor anymore, it's like you can start seeing how everything's kind of deteriorating. And it's unfortunate. I realize that like a lot of places, like maybe they're not perfect and maybe some things aren't aren't good, but it's like for things to be deteriorating this much, it just kind of shows like a lack of interest in making things right. And I do realize that the current mayor has been targeted by these people, I guess, because we never know if that's just part of his plan to look like the victim. But it's like it's unfortunate. It's that the situation, like you saw things getting better in the city, and now they're getting worse. So I assume it's the mayor because, like I said, the change in mayor just seemed to start bringing collapse in infrastructure. But at the same time, I can't say that that's 100% the case. Yeah, Ace is beginning to look good. He is more professional now. The beard doesn't make me unprofessional. It's just I had to cut it down for now, for specific reasons. The haircut was definitely something that I needed for the school. Yes, the wild of Guayaquil law is the only real concern. You'll be fine. I have faith that, once again, your girlfriend's not going to take you to any place dangerous, especially if that's a big concern of yours. Which, why wouldn't it be? Because you don't want to go through danger or put anyone in danger. Has she talked about, aside from Cuenca, where she maybe wants to take you? Like, I feel like there should be like a fancy restaurant in Guayaquil that's like super protected and like you guys can go there one day or something. And visiting the family, I mean, as long as you guys are indoors, I don't think anything is going to happen. No, not professional, professorial, like a college professor. Indeed. Like you think that, like when you look at me, and then afterwards you look at my backpack with the guinea pig, the pin of an anime, the keychain of an anime, another pin from Dubai. Like, I don't know. Professional might not be the correct word. So right now we're in the kind of just chill part of the live stream. So for anyone who tuned in for like, specific Ecuador information, yes, you can ask questions, but right now we're on a chill part. So I recommend if you're here like for more information, you can ask a question or you can see the questions. If not, then this is for people who watch the replay. For everyone who's here, of course we can talk. If there's things we want to talk about, of course we can share. I'd love to hear about things that are happening with you. If there's anything you want to talk about, if you have any questions. If not, we can start preparing to cut the stream for today. Is the city allowed to implement taxes? If they can, perhaps they need their own EVA tax, maybe 1% to help fund infrastructure. I'm not sure how the tax system and infrastructure work in Ecuador. Honestly, there's something that I don't completely understand, but my dad explains it to me all the time. We pay like a separate tax if our electric bill, my electric bill, if it goes over a certain amount, aside from the fact that I live in a business area, if it goes over a certain amount, we end up paying an extra value in order to help fund the lighting and the trash and things like that. But like we're not even rich civilians, and it's like adding in, for example, an extra $30 to your bill every month, and it's painful because like we're not rich. So taxing us on that just feels not cool. Uh, Al, no, the guinea pig and the backpack makes you look like a cool college professor, like Goodwill Hunting. Uh, do what I can. Beyond borders, I'm sure not all of Guayaquil is very dangerous. There should be places she knows that are safe. Indeed. She did mention a restaurant, I think in San Borondon. She did say mostly indoors, maybe the mall or movies, as you mentioned. Yeah, I think you guys will be fine. Just make sure you bring back a souvenir with you. Uh, since you're not in Quito, I can't recommend the Kui keychain. But get something that you'll like. Paying that on top of the $100 minimum. Yeah. So it's like $100, and so basically the 1% added to the $100 and the minimum. That would be more painful. I mean, I already feel like we pay an excessive amount. People complain if they pay $25 for the electric bill. We're paying over $100 each month, and like having to pay even more just doesn't feel fair. Here in the US, the more electricity you use, the higher rate you pay per kilowatt hour. All right. But I mean, over here, it just feels like it's not just the like $100 that you pay. Like, yeah, sure, I'll take it. I'll take it. Like, if we spend a lot of electricity, like if I have the air on all day, okay, charge me for that. But like to have a value added, like a tax separate from what you're paying for in electricity, to pay for the city's electricity, to pay for the garbage, like when other people aren't being charged that, like that's what feels unfair. Let's see here. Jesus, that is a high surcharge. Indeed, it is. Crime aside, which city in Ecuador is best for a single traveler? Women, nightlife, sites, etc. We always talk about the situation with like going and traveling to Ecuador, like what cities are the best. I think if you want to have like a really, really great experience, your best bet, well, your two best bets are Galapagos, which I always have to mention Galapagos because that's just the promised land, and Baños, because Baños has a lot of things that you can do in Baños. If you like walking, of course, because there's the Pailón. I think it was the Pailón del Diablo. Let me see. Let me confirm. Let's see here. Ecuador. Yes, the Pailón del Diablo. There's the rafting. Like Baños just seems to be the general like super pretty place to visit that's really touristic. So that's like those two are my like top picks. Like if you're gonna visit a place, remember, Baños and Galapagos. Like Galapagos, you don't even have to worry about safety. If we're talking about another place, maybe if we want to integrate with like a pretty scenery and like with other foreigners, Cuenca might be really nice. Nepri GMAs, I just sent you a gift card. Appreciate it. Thank you so much. Let's see here. RKBA, I just feel like I might stand out and I don't want to draw any attention just for being and cause any issues for myself or her even after I leave. That after I leave part is where I more understand your concerns because they might think that, oh, these people know a gringo, a foreigner. We can ask them for money because they have money because they know a foreigner. I get what you're saying there now. Okay. But in that case, it would be impossible, no matter what, to meet her parents. Like there is no guaranteed solution unless, for example, you guys decide you visit, they pick you up at the airport. While you're at the airport, like you guys, instead of going to her house, you guys go out to eat as a family, everyone together. Then afterwards, you guys go your separate way, and her parents go back home. Because if the issue is going back to the house, then there's always going to be an issue, at least from what I'm seeing and hearing, no matter what. So if you want to avoid them, saying, "Oh, there's a gringo over here," then you just can't stay at her place, and you guys can't even go there. So that's a decision you guys have to make together, like, and with the family too. Hey, is it okay if we not go to your house? And as soon as we arrive, we just go to a place to eat. We have a nice big chat. We stay out for a long time. I don't know, maybe 2 hours talking, hanging out. And then afterwards, we go do our thing. Like that would be your solution. It would be more expensive, of course, because if you stay at her place, you save money on that. But at least you would be able to avoid anyone tracking her back to her place. Robert, thank you so much. I appreciate it. I looked over here at the computer instead of looking over at the camera. Rookie mistake of mine. But I appreciate it. I appreciate the support. Beyond Borders, we pay all that here where I live in Florida. I pay around $125 a month for city services in addition to electric. Man, I always forget how expensive things can be in the States and Florida, and where I used to live. But I know it's just tough for me and for my family because like we just don't have the money to be able to just keep paying for things like expensive things. Beyond Borders. Oh wait, first, Magic. Thanks. You're welcome. Al Cubo. That is a great idea, Ace. I hope that it helps RK. Alexandra, thank you so much. I appreciate the support. Muchas gracias. It's gonna help, especially since I was already seeing this month not being a very good month in terms of how much I'm making off YouTube. And I know the purpose isn't always to make money, but it definitely helps. And Magic, no, thank you. I'm always glad to help. As long as I can help, I will help. Beyond Borders, do you know if there are any Airbnb in Puerto Viejo? As a matter of fact, my best friend, Nacho, who's really like the guy who owns a cell phone store, he has this, like he sells cell phones and stuff like that. He has an Airbnb. Well, his mom has an Airbnb. So if you ever want to come to Puerto Viejo, like let me know ahead of time. I can talk to them and they can have it ready for you. The best thing is, since I know them, it's like guaranteed. It's a good place. Unless they don't have it anymore, but from last I heard, they do still have it. RKBA, I agree. That is the dilemma. Her family is only her mother, grandfather, and she lives upstairs. Yeah, definitely just if you can, just don't go to the house and just decide to hang out somewhere else. Let's see here. Beyond Borders, yeah, but I have more money than your family. Yeah, so it probably is easier for you to pay for that. For me, it just feels difficult all the time. Any extra expense in the month just always feels like, ugh. It's like just strangling you like that. Like, oh my goodness, no more expenses. Let's see here. Aaron, in Canada, hydro rates are determined by the time of day and the carbon tax is based on usage amount. I see that every place have their own way to like change things. Robert, it is still my intention to expat to Cuenca in 5 years. Do it, Robert. Don't ever feel like, unless for some reason like something awful happens in Ecuador, like war, like actual war, like I don't think there's any reason to like immediately change your plans. Just always be realistic about what your plans are. And Cuenca seems to be the expat ultimate destination, so I think you'll be fine. As long as you don't like, as long as like I said, nothing crazy happens, like for some reason the mafia decides to make Cuenca their base, I don't see why they would. But unless that happens, like Cuenca's great. You should check out Lewis's videos if you haven't, where he actually shows you. Like sometimes he's recording walking in the streets of Cuenca, and I would say that takes balls, but like in Cuenca, it just feels like that's the kind of place that could happen. And excuse the expression, it's just something that I feel like I over here I couldn't even do if I wanted to try, because I can go out on the streets with my phone, and yes, maybe nothing will happen, but there's a much higher chance that something will happen. So I prefer to avoid it. Excuse my language, please. Sorry about that. When I go to Ecuador, I want to explore places to rent in Puerto Viejo. Definitely. Come take a trip over here. And definitely come eat some encebollado. RKBA, how do you send a donation to the channel? You have been very helpful. You can send I think it's a sticker here. A chat sticker, but if you prefer it to go not through YouTube but through another means, I do have a Buy Me a Coffee account, a page. Let me see here, 1 second. You know, I was thinking of buying the book, The Picture of Dorian Gray, because I have to buy it because I promised my students we would use it for class. But I tried to buy it at a store in Manta, and they've just been like postponing it, excuses, they don't have it. They keep trying to offer me the more expensive $30 version. And it's like, I'm getting really tired of it. But anyways, going back to what I was doing, buy me a coffee. Let me see here. Hold up. Oh no. No, fail. Buy me a coffee. Hold up. Buy me a coffee. GM Ace. Copy. This is my. I mean, oh, by the way. Oh, wait. No, you were sent a super chat. Oh, thank you. Or a sticker. But yeah, for anyone who doesn't want to go through YouTube, there is also my Buy Me a Coffee page. You can definitely check that out. Thank you so much, RKBA. Always glad to help. And I appreciate the support a ton. If you don't want to go through YouTube and these things, you can also always go through Buy Me a Coffee. I realize everyone has their preferences. It's not obligated. I do appreciate the help because it helps me do more things and not have to worry about money all the time. I swear, if I didn't even have to worry about money, I'd be able to do more things in general. I wouldn't be working an extra job. I love my students. I just don't like, if I didn't have to put the extra pressure on myself to make more money, I wouldn't be doing that. I wouldn't be working another job. Anyways, going to the house is unavoidable. She doesn't want to have these discussions. She said, I only think negative. That sounds like a very Ecuadorian response. Kind of like, solo piensas mal, oe. You only think poorly. But it's like you're being realistic. You're concerned about your well-being, her well-being. How about you come with a hoodie? Like you come like you don't look like a gringo because like you come with a hoodie with a face mask so that people don't recognize you. You could just be like a tall cousin, you know, in the eyes of the people. Let's see here. Beyond Borders, I can't eat soup anymore since my surgery. Damn, that means you can't have it in Cebollado. But then can you have food with peanuts, like peanut butter? Because there's also the tonga, which is really good. Bolon, anything with like plantain in it, it's like amazing here in Puerto Viejo. I'll be down in Guayaquil in less than 2 weeks. Then start preparing to have a hoodie and to look like an Assassin's Creed character. I love the Assassin's Creed gear in general, like a little pin of like the Assassin's Creed logo, or like I the other day I saw this guy at the mall at the El Paseo, and he had a shirt like a black shirt, like it had a normal logo on it, and over here he had a little pin of an anime character, and I thought it was awesome. It was super cool. Let's see here. A tall cousin. For real, he said he's really tall. So I'm like, yeah, you come with a hoodie, you put on the mask, and hey, the tall cousin is visiting. Okay. And no one's going to say anything to him, you know? I think it's cool. Lewis, I mean, yeah, Robert, I had a feeling when you said I follow him, I thought you meant Lewis. But I'm glad that you do. Lewis is really cool. And he makes like I said, he goes out on the streets. And I think that's in my city, that would be crazy. But where he's at, he's good. RKBA, you can also contribute with an Amazon gift card. The advantage is that GMAs will get 100%, whereas via YouTube, 30%, and PayPal take. True, true. You are absolutely right. I always forget about those unfortunate cuts. But I really appreciate it, Netflix. I appreciate it a lot. Amazon takes nothing, as they shouldn't. Yes, just nothing with liquid. I can only have liquids 30 minutes after food. Okay, so definitely when you come here, let me know so that we can go and get some plantain dishes. That would be really cool. Bolon, pan de yuca. What else was it? Corviche is really good, depending on where you eat it, of course. The tonga is amazing. I want to dedicate like a video to tonga because it's just special looking. But then I'd probably have to do tonga and ayaca as well. RKBA, good to know. Good to know for me too. Beyond Borders, yes. Oh yeah, the thing about the liquids. RKBA, the tall Assassin Creed wannabe. Remember RKBA, go for the Assassin's Creed route. I'm contemplating it myself. Let's see here. Robert, I'd be inclined to utilize his services, but if you have other agencies you would suggest, I'll definitely look them up. Yapatry seems professional. I think if you're looking like to do the whole visa process here in Ecuador, I think Lewis is a good option because he actually shows himself to the public, like, and is really honest about the things he talks about on his channel. I like the transparency from Lewis, so he's a good option. Alternatively, I do know that there's also I think Gringo Visas is the name. I want to say that it's run by Maite, but I don't know if she's just one of the higher ranked employees. But I do see that she posts some people who do the visa process on Manta expats groups. So I just know her because in this space you end up knowing the people. So my two recommendations would be there, either Lewis or Gringo Visas, which seem to be the ones that are the most useful or the ones that most show themselves. Let's see here. Beyond Borders, if I buy you encebollados as donations, will it be monthly or one time? It depends on what you do. There are both options. There's the option to buy it monthly, where obviously you can renew the subscription each month. And alternatively, you can just buy a one-time encebollado, like a certain, or more than one. Let me see here. If I go on to buy me a coffee, GM Ace. Let's see here. Do I have to go directly? Okay. G. No. G. M. Ace. So weird. More than one. Is it because I spelled it wrong? GM Ace. Ecuador? There we go. I'll be more specific. So see, there's a part like on the Buy Me a Coffee page where it says become a member. And alternatively, there's one where if you go down lower, it just says buy GMAs and encebollado, and you can choose the amount that you want to buy. You can say something nice, or you can say something mean. I don't recommend saying something mean, please no. But yeah, you can just send me a message, and yeah, I'll receive it, and it'll help me out towards the goal. Because remember, Dad is going on vacation, hopefully, as long as he doesn't for some reason decide to reject it. Let me see here. Awesome. If we check your email to confirm the gift card, hold up. Let me see. Yeah, it seems like I got it. Oh my God, thank you. I appreciate it, Netfreak. That's a lot more than I was expecting. But it's gonna help. Like I said, I want to use it to help me make the video. And Aaron, also, thank you so much. Mention Dad's restaurant. Dad's restaurant. Remember, Gonzo's Chusos. You guys have to check it out. When you come here to Puerto Viejo, Beyond Borders, you got to check out Gonzo's Chusos. El Cubo Pan de Yuca is awesome. I had that once in Guayaquil while stopping over with Lanchile. Yes, Pan de Yuca is amazing. I appreciate the support, Aaron, and also for reminding me to shout out my dad. My dad's business. Anyone who comes to Puerto Viejo, remember, you got to come try the food at my dad's business. Hamburgers, shish kebabs, chusos. He also makes salads and sandwiches. And of course, if we special order, he can also make other foods like steaks and stuff like that. Today we had ceviche. Amazing. Loved it. It is Mate's company, indeed. Once again, Netfreak, thank you so much. I appreciate it. Hoodie in that heat? Well, I mean, the consensus is you have to go. You have to meet your suegros, your parents-in-law. Well, your suegra, your mother-in-law. Let's see here. Do they take anything out? What do you mean by do they take anything out? Alcuba, RKBA, love cannot be stopped. Indeed. I know I made that sound much more dramatic than I needed to, but just a me thing. Let's see here. Definitely go. Be adventurous, for sure. In 50 years from now, you will have no regrets, RKBA. Okay, I usually am. We have been to a bunch of countries, including Colombia last month, but it's always been in hotels and tourist areas. Normally, we always talk about how when you go to hotels and tourist areas, it's definitely a lot safer. But like I said, if you take the necessary precautions over here, go the hoodie route, then you should be fine. You should be fine. Uh, does Encebollado take a cut from what I said? The from Buy Me a Coffee. Um, I understand that it does. It's just not a substantial cut. Like the cut from YouTube apparently is a lot more than the cut from Buy Me a Coffee. And Buy Me a Coffee is better than Patreon in that as well. I don't have Patreon, but I remember that Patreon takes a bigger cut than Buy Me a Coffee. I'm an old man. I'll just go native. Do what you got to do, Robert. I have to say, did the live stream get stuck? It was weird. So I don't know. Does anyone have any other questions? Is there anything else you would like to talk about? Netfreak, thanks for confirming and most importantly for sharing your time, knowledge, and experience. Via con Dios. Viva con Dios. Thank you very much, Netfreak. I really appreciate it. And thank you for spending your time here with us today. And of course, for the support. Really did not expect it, and it helps out a ton. I definitely know that the video is going to be a lot better than I would have expected it to be previously. Let me see here. Okay. Here in Panama, I went native and I drank so much rum that I almost went blind. Oh my goodness. You got to be careful with drinking. Muchas gracias, Ace. Always a pleasure. Oh, you're serious about this hoodie? It seems like it's the most feasible option where you won't be recognizable as someone from another country. So, you know, the alternative is just go with the flow. Just go out and like don't concern yourself too much over it. Like I'd still be concerned. That's why I feel like the hoodie route is just like, you know, the ultimate solution. But if you're really concerned about it, you know. I do sometimes have concerns about my own fashion, but yes, I do love the Assassin's Creed looks. The Assassin's Creed looks. So did anyone have any other questions? Anything else you guys would like to talk about? If no, then I think since we've passed the 2 hour mark, I think it would be good to end the stream here today. Hoodie, invisible gringo as tall cousin. That's your alibi. Soy su primo alto. I'm her tall cousin. And then you pull out the Assassin's Creed phrase, nothing is true, everything is permitted. Magic, thanks, Ace. Always a great live. Thank you for being here. Thank you for taking the time. I really appreciate it. Bye, everyone. Be safe. Goodbye, everyone. Have an excellent rest of your weekend. Remember, we are in feriado, in holiday over here in Ecuador. Manabitismo, we are celebrating Manabi. In the school, there's going to be some plays and some things like that as well, which is pretty interesting to me. But yeah, a lot of things that we still have to talk about in the future. Alexandra, when is your next live stream? I'd like to think that it's in the next 2 weeks. Right now, we are on the 23rd. So I want to say that the next stream will be on the 6th of July. If it can't be on the 6th, then it will definitely be on the 13th. Thank you, thank you. Thank you, Ryan. RKBA, thank you for being here. Aaron, thank you. Never YouTube takes 30%. Yeah, YouTube is pretty crazy, but thank you for being here. PayPal takes 3%. The thing is with Buy Me a Coffee, it's linked with Payoneer, and Payoneer does take something, I think, when you try to withdraw from it. July 13th for sure, if not on the 6th. Indeed. Thank you for writing that down. Beyond Borders, please use this for Mama's washing machine. Thank you so much, Beyond Borders. I really appreciate it. I'll make sure to show members the washing machine later on. I'm actually more concerned about the drying machine, but yeah, because now that we have the new washing machine, I think the new drying machine is probably up for grabs, but that's a future thing. Guys, take care. Have an excellent rest of your weekend. As always, Ace out. Let me know if you have any questions. Don't forget to send me an email and stay tuned for the next live stream. Take good care of yourselves.